of the people from England, the colonists, they were free, but a lot of the the black people in America at that time, they were not free. They were slaves, and so that's why the Underground Railroad kind of started to help slaves escape slavery and to become free. And so we learned about Harriet Tubman and how she was a pioneer in that. So was it really a train that they would catch and they would go on this railroad and then it would go underground? Was that what it was? Or was it something different? What exactly was the Underground Railroad? BJ, what was it? Was it a train? No, what was it actually?
It was
Okay, it's okay. Someone can help him out, but you're right, BJ. It was not an underground rail. It wasn't an actual railroad. Could someone help him out? What was it exactly? Cullen.
Station.
Huh?
Station.
Yes, but it was something else. I'm looking for a certain word. Omar?
Path.
Yes, it was a path they would take. So it was a certain path they took.
Keep on watching that video.
Were they going to the south? Were they going to the west? Like, which direction were they traveling in? Show me with your finger.
North.
They were going up north. And so it went all the way to Canada. Some of them went to Canada, but some stayed in different parts, okay? All right, so slavery ended up becoming a huge issue in America. And so there were some people who felt like slavery was wrong and they wanted slaves to become free. And then there were some who felt like they wanted their slaves, they had to stay slaves. And so America was divided because you had two different opinions, and slavery was a big issue. A lot of people owned slaves at that time. And so here comes Abraham Lincoln, a new president, and he wanted to free the slaves. And so let's kind of read about it somewhat, okay? All right, so page 110. Ooh, it's a lot of words. Okay.
I can read first.
Go ahead, Cadence. I'll give everybody a chance to read. Go ahead, Cadence, because we've got a couple of pages to do today. Oh, you're on mute.
Our country
argues
as America were moving westward and more states were added to the unknown
Union. Remember, the country was called a union, United States. But okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Union. Trouble began to break out. The people in the northern states and the people in the southern states began arguing with each other. Many people in the South believed that each state had the right to make its own laws about slavery and other things. Soon the southern states began talking about separating from the United States and forming their own country. But the North instead insisted that no state should be allowed to leave the Union, and many were upset about the slavery in the South. What would happen now? Our country needed a great leader.
Very good. Thank you. So as America is growing and more states are being added to the Union, remember we started with 13 colonies. And so as people are moving west, more states are coming, and we will learn about that. But anyway, so you had the people in the northern states and you had the people in the southern states, okay? They were kind of different. So the South believed that each state could make its own laws and that they needed the slaves. A lot of the slaves were in the South because that's where a lot of the crops that the slaves worked on plantations, which they grew a lot of crops like cotton and lavender and all kinds of different things. And so that's why they were in the South. So the people in the South, they wanted to keep the slaves, whereas the people in the North felt like the South could not make their own laws. They couldn't be separate from the Union. And also they were like, we need to free the slaves so that they need to be free because they are people too. Okay, so we needed a leader who could bring a resolution or to solve this issue. So here comes Abraham Lincoln. Let's look at page 111 and let's talk about Abraham Lincoln. All right, let's see. Okay, go ahead, Omar, and I'll just stop you whenever. Just go ahead.
On February 12th, in 1809, a boy was born in a one-room log cabin in Kentucky. His parents were poor farmers. Young Abe, that's it.
Lincoln?
No, the other place. By the
Young Abe Lincoln was kept
safe, so busy on the farm that he was not able to go to school much. Instead, he learned all he could by reading books. As he grew older, he worked at different jobs. He was a storekeeper and a postmaster. Later, he taught himself law and became a lawyer because he was known being an honest man. People called him Honest Abe. They knew that they could trust him.
Very good. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12th in 1809. So that's a long time ago. Was anybody born in 1809?
No.
No, not at all. So yes, he was born in Kentucky into a poor family. So he didn't get much schooling. He had to quit school very young, which was often what the children had to do back then at that time to help the family. So he worked. He didn't finish school, but he also read a lot. And so reading a lot really improved his knowledge, and that's why we should read all the time, because reading helps us to grow in knowledge. And so he was a storekeeper, then a postmaster, then he became a lawyer, and then eventually he ran for the presidency, which that's what we're about to read. And so people called him Honest Abe because he was known to be an honest person. Okay, so let's keep reading.
What's a cabin?
What's a cabin? It's like a house made from wood.
Log.
So it doesn't look like, logs, but it's not a house like today. So, I mean, they still have cabins, but.
You never been in a cabin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so not everybody has been in a cabin before. Okay, all right, let's see. Go ahead, Austin. Read the bottom part of 111.
Waterfalls.
Oh, unmute.
After serving in Congress for a while, Abraham Lincoln decided to run for president of the United States He thought that our country must remain one great nation, or it would become weak. He was elected president in 1860. Abraham Lincoln knew that arguments between the North and the South were hurting America. He also felt that America would not be strong if not everyone could have
freedom. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln ran for president, and he became president in 1860. And so he knew that the arguments that were going on was hurting America, so he wanted to solve it. So the South actually didn't want Abraham Lincoln to become the president because they knew that he wanted to keep the United States, and that he didn't want, he was against slavery. And so after the election, the southern states decided they wanted to leave the United States, which they didn't have a right to do that. So they formed their own nation, which was called the Confederate States of America. And so they decided to have their own president, which was Jefferson Davis. So yeah, the South decided that they were going to make their own president. They didn't want Abraham Lincoln as their president. And they had their own flag and everything. So that's interesting, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're supposed to be the United States, and they made their own state. So,
Flag.
and they made their own flag, so not just their own thing. So yeah, so that's where we're going to stop today. Tomorrow we'll pick up to see what happens after they decided to make their own state. So now we have the North and the South, and they're divided. Okay. All right. So that's social studies